Last but by no means least comes Neil Eastham. He's going to tell us a bit what he wants to do with the cow's DNA. Neil is the son of a Lancashire dairy farmer and a farm animal vet and partner in the Bishopton Veterinary Group. Bishopton is a 40 vet practice with multiple practices across North Yorkshire. He enjoys helping out on the family farm at home and plays an active role in the breeding decisions made across the 360 cow pedigree Holstein herd. Over to you, Neil.
Genomic testing has revolutionised breeding within the dairy industry. Since its introduction in 2009, the rate of genetic gain across the national herd has doubled. My project, kindly sponsored by the John Oldacre Foundation, set out to explore how UK dairy farmers could benefit from genomic testing. So I'm a vet. Why am I interested in genetics? A subject which has traditionally been covered by others. Simple. Genetics play a fundamental role in herd health, and genetic improvement is incredibly valuable. A phenotype is a characteristic or trait that we can measure. This may be related to production or health, efficiency, resilience, fitness, management, or conformation. What's important is that we remember performance across these traits is dictated by the animal's genotype, her genetic makeup, the environment we place her in, and the way the two interact. Genetics serve as the foundation, the building blocks that influence all these aspects of herd health that I spend so much time going on about to my clients. It's the combination of great genetics and excellent management that will yield the best results. Now, rearing young stock typically represents the second highest cost on a dairy farm. With such a huge amount invested, it's really critical that farmers have the opportunity to select the heifers that are going to have the best chance of having a long, productive life. Unfortunately, not all heifers are born equal. Despite careful selection of both the male and female in this mating, little is known about the genetic merit of the resulting offspring. In fact, there are over a quintillion possibilities of what this heifer calf's genetic makeup looks like, and I haven't made that up, I promise. Now, before genomic testing, the most accurate way that the farmer had to predict the genetic merit of this heifer calf was to use the parent average assumption. This assumes that her genetic merit lies exactly intermediate between that of the sire and that of the dam. Unfortunately, unpredictability with the way that genes are passed down between the generations means that the reliability of the parent average value is low. And this is best demonstrated through the example of a picture of me and my brother. I hope we have the same parents. So we share the same parent average breeding value, but we have ended up somewhat different. And this is, at least in part, attributable to the genes we have inherited. I'll let you decide who got the ones for looks. By revealing more about the genetic material that an animal has actually inherited, genomic testing represents a great opportunity to increase the confidence we have in those early selection, management, and breeding decisions. So here's the science part, concentrate. We're going to take a sample of DNA from the calf, typically a hair sample or ear notch. We're going to send that to the lab, and the DNA is going to be extracted. The DNA is then put on a SNP chip, and single nucleotide polymorphisms, the genetic markers, along the genome that differ between individuals are read at various locations to produce a SNP code bespoke to the individual animal. That's then sent to AHDB, the guys responsible for genetic evaluations here in the UK. They use a reference population of daughter-proven, genotyped bulls and a whole heap of statistics to churn out genomic breeding values for the animal that's being tested. And in the dairy sector, we use predicted transmitting abilities. The whole process takes 6 to 8 weeks and costs around £25 to £30. But the biggie is the huge jump in reliability that's achieved. We move from 15 to 35% reliability with parent average, right up to around 55 to 75%, dependent on the trait with genomics. So genomic testing is a no-brainer, right? Every dairy farmer should be doing it. Whilst the uptake on the male side has been high in the UK and consistent with other countries, with young genomic bulls that stand in AI accounting for 70% of all inseminations, the actual numbers of females tested is really, really low. And less than 2% of eligible heifers here in the UK are currently tested. When we talk with farmers, the main reasons behind that are cost and interpretation, knowing what to do with the vast amount of data that they get back. Now, the breeder's equation is central to realizing genetic gain. Genomic testing helps us to satisfy every aspect of this equation. I've already demonstrated the jump in reliability or accuracy that's achievable. The selection differential relates to the difference in genetic merit between those animals we end up selecting against the population from which they were selected. The higher the selection differential, the greater the selection intensity. And selection intensity within the AI industry, when looking to select males, is very, very high. Only the very best bulls are brought to market, and visits to CMEX in Canada, Genus ABS in America, CRV in Holland, highlighted to me the importance that the breeding companies are placing on genomic testing. But the motivation to find the genetic elite was also something that some commercial dairy farmers were interested in. Rosie Lane Holsteins in Wisconsin is home to a 900-cow dairy, and these guys have been genomic testing since 2010. The calf shown here is the former #1 TPI index heifer in the entire world. She was later sold for over $600,000. Bob Zvold and son-in-law Steve were also cow enthusiasts. They had an 800-cow operation also in Wisconsin. Their barns were littered with cow royalty, and here's the business end of the granddam of Bomaz Skywalker, a really heavily used young genomic bull here in the UK. Now, whilst visits to Rosie Lane and Bomaz were undoubtedly inspiring, I was left wondering how likely back in North Yorkshire it was that I was going to uncover animals with such high genetic calibre. And in truth, the chances are very, 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 very unlikely. And these guys acknowledge the challenge as well with keeping up with the AI industry. Perhaps then the focus should be directed at the other end of the curve. I met with Albert de Vries of Florida State University, and he illustrated really eloquently to me the importance of generating a small surplus of heifers so that once you tested, you could sell 10 to 15%. The sale price of these heifers didn't matter. It was the uplift in genetic merit of those that you kept that was deemed important in realizing a return. Now, in Holland, I met with a number of producers who were genomic testing. Working under the constraints of phosphate quota, these farmers needed absolute reassurance that their replacement heifers were up to the job. On this farm, milking 120 cows through 2 robots, as so many guys over there do, they were testing the whole of their heifer crop and selling the worst 10 to 15% just before they were weaned. On other farms, rather than selling heifers, deselection focused on the heavy use of beef semen. Homestead Farms in Indiana is home to 2,200 cows milked by 36 robots under one 8.5-acre roof. Partner in the business, Jill Hewin, is shown here with her replacement Holstein heifers. What was striking, though, was the pen after pen of Aberdeen Angus calves that these guys also had. And these were sold at 4 months of age, providing a valuable income stream to the farm. As the divisor in the breeder's equation, it's really important that we look to reduce the generation interval to speed up genetic gain. And the wide-scale use of young genomic AI bulls has massively helped to do this. On the female side, the popularity of ovum pickup and in vitro fertilization has grown rapidly. Here's Dr. Lisa McRae, a private veterinary practitioner, performing an OPU collection on a heifer at the CEMEX Bovitech West facility in Abbotsford, Canada. The ability to collect from younger donors, collect more frequently, and collect during the first trimester of pregnancy mean that in many territories, OPU IVF is superseding conventional ET. Whilst the breeding strategies differed between farms that were visited, each farm was optimizing their strategy to their business. Once genomic tested, heifers were ranked in line with the farm's breeding objectives. Only then were they aligned with a breeding strategy, and that was executed with military precision. Many breeding strategies, as you can see, can be deployed. The key is to find the right balance for the individual farm. Now, since the advent of genomic testing, the focus for many has been the genotype, but focus is now returning to the phenotype. As we increasingly realize that existing and new data sources from the farm represent a great opportunity to progress and further genetic improvement. And Professor Miel Hostens at the University of Ghent highlighted the importance by suggesting that for every 1 tanker of milk, there are 2 tankers of slurry, 3 tankers of water, and 4 gigabytes of data. We need these phenotypes to validate existing predictions and to generate new predictions for new traits. To coin a phrase from Professor Mike Coffey at the SRUC, #phenotype is king. So new traits, they represent great opportunities. When looking for new traits, genetic variation is pivotal. We can use small, deeply phenotyped populations of genotyped animals to formulate predictions for national herds, as was being done by CRV with a number of collaborators, including Wageningen University, as they look to realize genetic predictions for residual feed intake. By the end of the project, they will have genotyped over 10,000 dairy cows and have weight recordings and production data from a number of different farms. And one farm was the oldest farm in Overloon in Holland, who were already seeing a big difference between individuals. The top 25% of their herd for feed efficiency were yielding an additional 9 litres per day when compared to the bottom 25%. On a visit to Guelph, I learnt about the Efficient Dairy Genome Project, which is aiming to develop genome-based methods of selection for improved feed efficiency and reduced emissions. Shown here is the machine that's used to measure methane from cows at the Elora Research Station in Guelph. Preliminary estimates suggests that selecting for increased feed efficiency and reduced methane emissions could reduce emissions by up to 26%. With so much to consider before, during, and after genomic testing, I was keen to explore what role the vet could play. Now, it was apparent from speaking to farmers that advice was coming from three different folk, really: the breeding advisor, the test provider, and potentially the vet. Now, I was fortunate enough to meet with a few vets, and they inspired me to believe that we can add value. We have an in-depth knowledge of the farm and an understanding of the herd health challenges. We are independent, and in this field, independence is a rarity. We have a scientific understanding of genomics and the statistical nature of breeding. And also, we are really well placed to advise our clients, the farmer, that genomic testing may well not be yet the next logical step for their farm. There are lots of questions that need asking when we think about genetics and genomics, and I want to make sure I position myself in those conversations. So my take-home Nuffield messages are: genetic improvement is definitely worth the effort. Faster genetic progress can be realised with genomics. If we're going to invest in female genomic testing, we must strive to achieve maximal value. Vets have an opportunity to add value, and long-term industry success in this field will ride on data. So there's a whole heap of work to do. I want to help my clients to understand more about the importance of genetics. I want to support those, and I'm really fortunate because I have a number of early adopters. I want to support those that are testing to make sure they are realising a return. I want to promote the use of genomics to farmers and vets, connect with the wider industry, and keep pace with the evolving role of genomics and the needs of our clients. So this is a new facility that we're investing in, and this will allow us to house residential donors on ET and OPU IVF programs. And through RAFT, our sister company, we continue to partner in Gentor, which is a 2020 EU-funded project that is looking to develop innovative genome-enabled selection tools to optimize resilience and efficiency. Lastly, a few thank yous. A big thank you to the Nuffield Farming Scholarship Trust and John Oldacre Foundation for affording me this opportunity. A massive thank you to my very patient clients and colleagues at Bishopton Vets and RAFT Solutions. And a big thank you to my wife Heather for her unfailing support over the last 2 years. Thank you.